Good morning. Wow. Good morning. There we go. I'd like to call this meeting to order. 9:07. Can everyone please stand? And can I get a volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Guess what, Anthony? I'm picking you.
Morning, everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Anthony. So welcome, everyone. I know we're still in and out. Raise your hands. Who went to Moss Street? Who went to the other building? There we go. See, an honest man. Yes. So this is our first. This is our first ever joint parent leader meeting between DPAC and DELAC. Now, if you're not familiar with each other, DPAC is the District Parent. So we, as a group, were elected at our schools or sites. We're voted in, and we represent the school on a monthly meeting in DPAC. DPAC provides inputs and feedbacks on programs and services for Title I schools. Our other group, DELAC, is the District Level English Language Advisory Committee, also a voted in position. They provide input and establish district programs and goals for English programs. Now, as a group, we're obviously trying this out for the first time. So we have a different, it's not going to be like a regular meeting. What we wanted to do as a board, from the previous board to this board, and actually I'm going to introduce our board. So these are all newly elected or re-elected officials. So first I'm going to start off with our Vice President, Juan. Our Secretary, Elizabeth. Our Parliamentarian, Delia. My name is Carlos Reese, and I represent Hilltop High School. This is our DELAC board. Our President, Guadalupe Estrada. Our Vice President, Liliana Ortiz. Our Secretary, Antonia May. And our Attendance Secretary, Alma Gomez. And their parliamentarian is also Bella. So as a lot of you know, a lot of us jump back and forth from DPAC to DELAC to, every group pretty much, and based on what your school is, you'll tend to see the same people representing, different positions or doing the same thing. So our goal this year is to get more people involved. The stronger we are, the more we can bring, just collaborating and being able to advise our schools, our district, our teachers, our parents, just everyone on what we're doing. So really quick, I'm going to get into, actually, Bill, we'll be going over the ground rules. We're still under Robert's rules, so you just can't jump up and raise your hand and talk, but she's going to go over that real quick and discuss some the rules.
Good morning. I'll read to you the ground rules. Everybody has them in their table and pencil, the yellow paper. So I'll go. Number 1, follow meeting's agenda, start and end on time. Second, listen attentively to the speaker, no interruptions, no side conversations, please. 3, state your name and school before speaking. 4, questions can be written and turned in to parliamentarian. Comments or flyers for public announcements are due to parliamentarians by break time. The little papers, there's the yellow one for open forum. This one especially is for people that are visitors. We would like you to fill out this, and this is for you to speak at the end of the meeting. We also have the school reports, the blue ones. I'm never going to do them. No, okay, so this means we will not use this one, only the yellow ones. Okay, 5, stay on one topic at a time, only one agenda topic at a time. 6, agree to disagree with an issue. 7, every voting member has priority for input. 8, be respectful for each other. 9, maintain student confidentiality. 10, all non-voting members must wear a visitor badge. Also, we would like to remind you to put your telephones on vibration, please, in silence, so nobody could be hearing your things. If you need to take a call, please do it outside. It will be really nice. Thank you.
Okay, so you're probably wondering why we're all here together. So, I remember maybe about 2 years ago, an Ethiopian proverb. It was, when spiders unite, they can tie down the line. So, and it's Halloween, so the spider thing kind of works. But, so this is why our group was created. The more we can interconnect, we're streaming live. So they're watching this live right now. I'm like trying to show my good side. We're online. So another thing we added into our group is a lot of us don't know each other. So I kind of started a thing. It's an icebreaker. So at your tables, doesn't matter if it's 3, 6, or you guys need more chairs. What we're gonna do. And because we're the District Parent Advisory Committee, I want you to reflect on what's the best advice that you've ever received. So, as a group, individually go, this is Nora. My best advice was, and each person go through your group and tell the group what's the best advice that you've ever received. As a group, you can write it down, do whatever. As a group, figure out which is the best advice in that group. They're all going to be great, but try to pinpoint something maybe that is part of what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to give you, we have about, how long? Maybe, about 5 to 6 minutes. Collaborate with each other, introduce each other. I don't know if many of you haven't met each other. Introduce you to each other. Tell each other what your best advice you've ever been given or have given. Take about 5 minutes, write down the best one from the group, and then pick someone to give that advice to us. So, start 5 minutes now. All right, there you go. Okay, are we ready? Does everyone have all the advice they need now? Okay, so I'm going to start with our table. And as a group, we had very good ones. We chose to live in today. So we chose to live in today. So I'm going to start with our other board. Juan's going to be walking around. And remember, when the mic's presented to you, please keep it close. State your name, state the school you're in, and then go ahead.
Buenos días, soy Guadalupe Estrada. Entonces, aquí en nuestra mesa, en conclusión, todas las ideas aquí coincidimos todas, es el apoyo que nos dan y nos motivan a ir más allá y en apoyar a nuestros hijos. Esos son los mejores consejos, y que cuando alguien mira a un padre de familia y lo ven que está representando esa escuela, siempre le dan ese ánimo de que tiene una voz ese papá acá en el distrito. Así que en conjunto todo eso, así no pudimos escoger uno solo porque en todas abarcamos todas.
Okay, this table here.
Buenos días. Nuestro consejo fue ser fiel a ti mismo, a tus valores y convicciones. Creemos que de ahí es el inicio de todo lo demás.
Very good. Next table.
Buenos días. Nosotros coincidimos en que lo que hemos escuchado es que somos abogados de nuestros hijos y los demás hijos de la escuela, no nomás nuestros propios, sino estamos representando a los papás de otros niños también, y que ser parte de ser abogado de tu hijo es buscar la manera positiva de apoyar, conociendo el sistema que aprendemos cada vez que venimos a estas juntas. Sabemos qué preguntas realizar y entender que la educación es equitativa. Eso es algo también muy importante para nosotros que hemos aprendido.
Good morning. We actually chose the best advice that we've all received is to never ever give up.
Muy buenos días, Laura Murillo. Aquí decidimos que el mejor consejo que se dio es vivir el momento en el presente. Y eso cubría todo. La importancia del consejo de que la educación es la mejor legado que puedes dejar, el que nunca subestimes tu potencial, que la educación y el apoyo a los hijos, todo puede recaer en vive el momento ahora, porque ahorita es cuando se ocupa, ahorita es cuando se afecta, ahorita es cuando todo. Gracias.
Buenos días. Nosotros en nuestra mesa enfatizamos la comunicación entre el hijo, el maestro y a nivel preparatoria con el consejero. Que tenemos que ser un equipo. Los niños en la preparatoria tienen muchos maestros, entonces la comunicación entre el maestro y tú vía email o cuando hacen las juntas con el consejero. Entonces eso es muy importante, el escuchar a tu hijo y el comunicarte con sus maestros.
El apoyo de maestros y padres es indispensable para nuestros hijos. A veces es individual, pero todos juntos podemos ser la fuerza para todo. Es una manera de poder sobresalir y llegar a las metas que querramos. Gracias.
Good morning. I think we're pretty much in the same boat as quite a few tables, is that the best advice that I was given was actually from an admin, is that we are our children's voices and that we as parents have more power than we think that we do, and that we can make changes if we really wanted to.
Good morning. We also said that it's never give up. We learn from mistakes. We also have working together, make us stronger. Have everything in writing, like whatever, when you communicate with people. And I think one of the strongest one is
have a good marriage, if we have parents that can be good role models, and we wouldn't have that many trouble kids, going into ways, distracting from their real job that they need to do.
Buenos días. Venimos de aquí de San Isidro High School y estuvimos compartiendo nuestros consejos que hemos tenido, pero básicamente estábamos de acuerdo aquí en de que primero hay que cuidarnos nosotros mismos para poder dar y poder aprender. So, aquí decidimos que la receta del té es uno de los consejos que tenemos para ustedes, que es cuídate, ámate, quiérete, y de ahí involúcrate en la escuela. So, hay muchas que podemos hacer. Eso les compartimos. Gracias.
Good morning, Elena Pelayo from Option Secondary, and Ms. Delgado decided that she got some great advice that said, if you're not having fun, you're wrong. So if you're not having fun in your job, you're in the wrong job. If you're not having fun when you do things, you're doing wrong. So we decided that was the best advice.
Good morning, Dan Winters, Research and Evaluation, and the best advice I would say is to treat others the way you would want to be treated. Golden rule. So, thank you.
Buenos días. Aquí el consejo es práctico, concreto y preciso. Se aprende más con el ejemplo que con las palabras.
Good morning, Claudia Barco, Granger Junior High. Here at our table, we came up with a closed mouth doesn't get fed. That's both literally and figuratively. If you're not asking questions, you're not going to gain that knowledge. Yep.
Buenos días, soy Doralicia Real García de National Primero, compañera de Sweetwater High, soy el Program Facilitator. Y nuestro consejo es saber escuchar sin interrumpir, ponernos en el lugar de la otra persona. Si la persona está molesta o irritada o triste, no es por nuestra culpa, sino por todo el problema que trae. Entonces, el saber escuchar sin interrumpir y ponernos en el lugar de la otra persona siempre.
That's a lot of good advice. But you're looking at it from English, Spanish, I mean, it doesn't matter. It all translates to the same. And the main purpose I did for this icebreaker is I don't think people communicate as much as they used to. Everyone's texting. Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Instagram. So I wanted people to interact with each other. So hey, here's some advice I got. And it doesn't matter. They're all great, but as long as we're communicating and we're taking that back to our schools, back to other parents, that's when we're stronger. They always say, the weak, they become stronger when you unite. So as we're growing, as you can tell, this is the biggest meeting I think we've ever held as an input between both groups together. So as we grow, we, as spiders, as we unite, we start attracting bigger help, more collaborations. And with that, I want to introduce Dr. Cheney, our Sweetwater Union District Superintendent.
Good morning, bienvenidos, everyone. How are you? Wow, this is amazing, having you all in the same room. So thank you for being here. LCAP goal number 3 says this, that we foster and honor parent and community engagement to support each student's success.
So I heard some of the advice that you were sharing with each other, and I heard about parent voice and student voice, and we honor both. So it's not just about fostering and building the capacity for parents to share your voice, but it's about honoring what you say. And we do honor what you say, and we do honor you being here, and we do appreciate you spending the time to come together and join your voices on behalf of students and each other. So I think this is the first time we've combined both the DPAC and the DELAC. I don't know if it's been ever, but first time in a long time at least. And it's a great opportunity to get the year started with everybody kind of with a common voice, right? You're getting lots of information today, but at the same time, every time you meet as a group, whether it's together or individually, we always want your input about what you hear at the meeting or at your schools. I agree with Mr. Carlos and Mr. Reese that communication is the best way, and we can't ever over communicate. No matter how much we try, we don't get to everyone all the time. So any way that you can help us in communicating or in communicating better, we would appreciate your help. We cannot educate your children, your students, alone. We need your help. You know, everyone at school is doing everything they can, and it's not only the teachers, it's not only the counselors, it's not only the administrators, but the people that your students meet when they walk in the office are just as important. The people that they see cleaning the grounds or mowing the lawns or helping in the classroom are as important as everyone. And so, I don't know if many of you know this, but many of the employees in our district, we grew up here, including myself. We grew up in Chula Vista, or in National City, or Imperial Beach, San Ysidro. And then we've come back to work and support our students and you. So, I hope you know, I love our district. I care about what's going on in our district. I care about you. I care about your students. I care about your staff at the schools where you work. And I just need you to know that we need your help to do the best we can for our students. Right, Monica? I see her over there shaking her head. Yeah. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for all that you're going to learn, and thank you for what we're going to learn from you to help your students succeed. So have a great morning. I'll be here for a little while, and then I'm off to somewhere else. But thank you again for being here today. Thank you.
Okay, now some reminders. All right, so since we're a large group and we want to make sure the presenters answer all questions, we'll have you write down your questions and designated cards on your table. So look on your table, you should have a couple of cards, orange, red. These are your where you put your questions down. They'll be collected by Ms. Delgado and other staff walking around, and we won't get to all the questions. But if we don't get to them, we'll have the presenters answer them in email responses to everyone. Another thing is when you're handed the mic. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but I've kind of trained at least our DPAC group to start getting used to being behind this mic. State your name, your school, then ask your question. And remember, it's one question. Ask a question with 7 different, inquiries on it. And the other thing, please refrain from having any side conversations when presenters are presenting. And I think that's it. So right now, Juan's going to get into our agenda 3. And here's Juan.
So one more thing on that, those little papers. You are gonna fill up your questions on those papers. We are gonna pick them up. So we're gonna randomly select them. We're gonna kind of see the questions you guys have, and we're gonna pick them up. I mean, you might be chosen, you might not be chosen for that question. So, but all those questions will be given to the presenter. So you know, we're gonna get the best questions that we want for our presenter, and then the rest will be sent back to him, and he'll give us a feedback after that. Now on our agenda, we gotta approve our agenda for today, but we need to make a few changes. Everything's gonna stay the way it is, except for timing. We need a motion to move our first presentation, topic number 4. We tried to give him a little more time because the topic is kind of big. So from 9:30 to 10:20, and then we are gonna have our break from 10:20 to 10:30, and then our following presentation, UCP, will be from 10:30 to 11. I mean, we're still gonna take in the range of the times that we have. We're just gonna move a little more time to one presenter and then give a little less time to the other presenter. So I need a motion to move. 9:40. So it'll be 9:40. Instead of 9:30, yeah. It's 9:40 already. So we would like to.
My name is Elizabeth Yeager. I'm from Olympian High School, and I move to approve the agenda with the adjustments of starting our first presenter at 9:40 and then making the adjustments from there as stated by the Vice
Perfect.
President.
So she will do that. So, yes,
Elaine Plano, I second the motion.
the motion. Now, everybody in favor? Do we have a discussion over that?
I, Aurora Murillo, community representative.
Aurora Murillo, community representative for DELAC. On the agenda, we also have to make the adjustment that we added a nice breaker that was performed that was not on here. The activity we did needs to be added also.
That was part of our opening. That's how we figured it out.
Well,
That's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of our opening. That's how we figured out our agenda. Our opening is the icebreaker that we use. So everybody in favor of that? There's no more discussion though? No? Everybody in favor, can you raise your hands, please? Way up high so I can see them. Thank you. So yeah, majority, thank you. So we approve our agenda with our changes. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to be moving on to agenda number 4, where we'll have Dr. Dan Winters. He's the Director of Research and Evaluation, and he'll be discussing LCAP Goal 1, Excellence in Teaching and Learning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here with you and to talk about LCAP Goal 1. And so I'm a little nervous because we've got to present a lot of information to you, and I think the protocol is no questions until I'm done, right? Okay. I wouldn't mind answering questions in the middle, but now they won't let me, so we will not do that. So please write your questions down because, again, it's a lot of information. I apologize for that, but we want to make sure you know kind of what's the state of our district, how are we doing? And in this data, you're going to see things we're doing well and things that demand our attention. We're not where we want to be yet. We certainly are making progress in some areas, but we, as Dr. Janney said, we need your voice. We need student voice, but we need parent voice to make our district as great as we want it to be. So without further ado, we're going to jump into LCAP Goal 1. And LCAP Goal 1 is about teaching and learning so kids are college and career ready. In a nutshell, that is why we're here. We want kids who can go to college right out of high school, or go into a job right out of high school and be fully prepared. But first I want to talk about who is an English learner, because often that category of English learner is confusing and people have a lot of misconceptions. You'll see 3 lists of students here that are English learners. These are all English learners. The first group that we're familiar with are STELs. STELs are here 6 years or less in the United States, and they're learning English as a second language, followed by LTELs. And LTELs are here 6 years or more, also learning English as a second language. And finally, we have a third group called RFET. They are redesignated fluent English proficient student. These are also English learners. And the reason why I like to point this out is that often we look at data and we only look at those first two groups, STEL and LTEL. We say these are our English learners. But those are not all of our English learners, because RFETs are also English learners. And I'm going to point that out because some of the data the state asks us to look at combines those two categories, and some of the data separates them. Let's just keep that in mind. One interesting fact that I'd love to point out, do you know that in the last 2 years we have had valedictorians and salutatorians at every school? And valedictorians and salutatorians are the students with the highest GPA at that school, at the high schools. About 50% of those students are FEPs. English learners who have reclassified, who were valedictorians or salutatorians at their school. So those are some of our most successful students. You can clap for that. So, those are English learners, and these are the non-English learners. Students who are English only, they have no other language in their household. And the last category is IFET. Those are students when they first came to the US, the parents said there's a language other than English in our home, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, whatever that might be. But they were already fluent in English when they showed up. So they did not get bilingual education, they were never considered English learners, but they do have maybe a second language at home. But this is the category considered of English only or non-English learners. That being said, here's our first point of data. These are the percentage of students we have reclassified over the last several years. You can see, usually that number is about 10%. We did have an anomaly in 16-17 where we classified over 20% reclassified. And then this year, 19-20, we don't have the firm data yet because we've already reclassified about 327 students, but we're going to reclassify another group of students in January based on changes in grades and achievement. So that number could grow anywhere close to 500, depends on how many more reclassify. So we'll have that data next year, or later this year. Now, A through G completion rate. We talked about kids being college ready. A through G are all the courses students need to take to be accepted into the CSU and the UC system. So you can see our percentages, we're in blue, and we're comparing ourselves to the county, which is in green, and the state of California. So in this data, we tend to be a little bit lower than the county, but higher than the state over the last 2 years that we have data. You'll notice we don't have the 18-19 data yet, it's not official, so we won't know that data for probably about another month as it's being validated. Now, one student group that we have done very well on is socioeconomically disadvantaged students. You can see when you compare us to the county, we're actually a little bit better than the county, slightly, and far ahead of the state when it comes to socioeconomically students being college ready, passing those A through G coursework. Now this does not look very impressive, but this is really one of the most impressive pieces of data that we have. Seal of biliteracy. It's a fairly new category, and it's a category of students who are proficient in 2 languages when they graduate. Now you'll notice a couple years ago we were at 19%. You can see the county average was about 11, and in the state it's also right around 11%. It's hard to get this data for every district in the state. When I looked at it, it's kind of messy data, but it looks to me like we may have the highest percentage in all of the state of California. Thank you. Yes. One thing I'd like to point out and give credit to is that we have feeder districts that make us a K-12 system. Chula Vista, South Bay, San Ysidro, and National, with fantastic dual language programs that feed into our schools, and we then have built dual language programs in our middle schools to support them. So it really is a K-12 celebration that our students take advantage of the asset that they have, multi-languages, in building these biliterate students. So this year, it looks like we're around 16%. Again, that number is not official because that data is still being validated. So advanced placement coursework. These are our most rigorous courses, advanced placement. How many of you have children who are taking advanced placement courses right now? Yes. Very challenging. It's so good to get students into advanced placement. And we have seen over about 10 years or more and more students, as you can see, have got into advanced placement course. courses. Last year is the first year we saw a slight drop in the number of kids who got into those courses. But one thing you notice there on the green line is that even though we put in a few less kids last year, we had more kids who passed the test. So, which shows in the next slide that our percentage passing is as high last year as it's ever been, 55%. So we have a lot of programs that are supporting this effort, and we see good positive gains on kids taking the most challenging courses available. One thing I'll say about this, it is great that kids pass these courses, but even kids who don't pass an AP course benefit greatly from being in that course. Studies have shown that kids who do well in college and persist in college, they take advanced courses. Now it's best that they get good grades in those courses, but even a C or better in those courses is better than taking a less rigorous course and getting an A. So I encourage you to let your kids, even though they may want to fight you on it, get them in those hard courses. It definitely does pay off. So LPAC. LPAC is the new test as of 2 years ago, the first time we took LPAC in the state of California that took over from Ms. Selt. And you will see this is one of those data points that concerns us. As you can see, the percentage of kids who are well developed drops significantly from the first year to the second year. Now, one thing about data we don't know is we have not seen the state release data, so I don't know if this is a trend across the county and across the state. I've talked to a couple districts locally who said their scores also dropped. So it could be that with a new test, it's just calibrating. Nevertheless, it's a great concern for us to make sure we understand better why are our kids not well developed, what's going on with those students. And so each site has people, SIS coordinators, some of them are here, are digging into that data, looking into those students to find out what may be needed. Now we're going to show a bunch of slides on the CAS data. This is where you're probably, if you're not overwhelmed yet, just hold on for 2 more minutes, you will be. And so the CAS data is presented in the category of distance from MET. Every CAS score in every grade level, language arts and math, has a score that's like the target score for proficient. It's different at every grade level, it's different for each test, language arts and math. So they come up with a number that shows you how close you are to being proficient. So for example, let's look at the first one. For all students, we were -4, then -7, then -1. That means that the average of our students, for all students in middle school language arts, was -4 from proficient, then it was a little worse, -7, and then a little bit better, -1. And so there you can see the significant student groups and how they performed over the past 3 years. Middle school language arts. So let's look at those groups. The one we want to focus on here is English learners. Now, remember I mentioned those definitions about English learners. This group includes STELs, LTELs, and 4 years of RFEP. In other words, if they RFEP within the last 4 years, they're a part of this group. If they RFEP 5 years ago or 6 years ago, they're not included. So that group, as you can see, they made quite a solid gain last year, 11 percentage points difference for that English learner group. And you can see how other groups did, homeless, SCD, which is socioeconomically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities. And so here's how I'm going to break down those English learner groups a little bit more for us in detail on this slide. This is, again, middle school language arts. You can see the English learners, plus this is the one we saw on the slide before, where it was the one that are on the accountability for the state of California. STELs, LTELs, and 4 years of RFEP. Here's RFEP only. Notice how they perform better than the average student in our district. They really are one of the highest performing groups of students that we have. And if you look at just STELs and LTELs, you can see they're definitely a struggling group, which are a lower performing group, but they have made some gains over the past year. Now let's go to math in middle school, and we're going to start again with those first student groups that I showed you. You can see the English learners, that include some RFEPs, improved slightly, 4 points. Homeless went down, socioeconomic disadvantage, slight increase. And overall, it was just a slight increase of 3 points. So not very big gains. In fact, this is an area district-wide we're most concerned. Our math scores overall, you're going to see, are quite flat. Not getting worse, but not getting better. Definitely an area of focus for us. So here's middle school math and those English learner breakdowns that I wanted to show you. And so you can see the English learner only, which did go down that group, STELs and LTELs. RFEPs made progress. and the ones that were accountability group went up 4 points. And now let's jump into high school. So we're going to go with high school language arts. So once again, we start with our English learner accountability group, the one that has 4 years of RFEP. They made a slight improvement. Notice the homeless group made a big jump. That's somewhat deceiving because that's a small group of students, so even a few kids making a change leads to those big jumps. Just want to stop to talk about this comparison. One thing to keep in mind when we look at these comparisons from 16 to 17 to 18, these are always comparing different groups of kids. So it's not a fair comparison in terms of, we're not looking at one kid's actual growth from 1 year to the next, but we're looking at the cohort of students who were in 16, 17 compared to a different cohort of kids in 17, 18. So high school language arts, let's break down our English learners. We can see the accountability group went up 3 points. English only dropped a little bit, 4 points, and the RFEPs made a bit of a gain, and they're in the positive territory. So let's go to high school math now. And here where we see really just flat scores across the board. And again, our greatest concern being math. We don't see much of anything jumping up. The homeless group made a bit of a gain, but the rest either went down or stayed about the same. And let's look at those English learners in math. Pretty much the same trend, either flat or down. Okay, so that's all the data. Take a breath. Good. So maybe you wrote some questions down. I just want to kind of quickly go over some of the highlights of the major things that we're focused on to improve that data. In the area of professional learning, you can see this long list of things. I'll highlight 2. Site leadership teams. We meet with site leadership teams a couple times during the year to provide guidance for them to really develop teams of teachers at every course who are looking at this kind of data, and even more importantly, the formative data, the data they give week after week. Who's making progress, who's not making progress, what changes can they make within their instruction to support students. They do some common planning together. We have a pull-out over the next 2 weeks where we're bringing in teachers in almost every course in our district to design lessons together and come up with that collaborative approach to teaching and learning. So SLT is one of our major foci. The other one I highlighted is the instructional guides that we've been developing over time that we are rolling out to every course. So they have common resources they can use and pull from to design those lessons I described. So SLT and instructional guides are really our number 1 and 2 focus for this year. And we have been focused for the last couple years on this, which is effective first instruction. And it has these 6 elements that you can see there. Our goal is to have some commonalities across the district, knowing that also in a classroom of a teacher, there is some need for flexibility and individual teacher interpretation of this. But we do think that common language and approach to teaching and learning helps create that equitable environment across our district. In terms of focuses through the Office of Curriculum Instruction, I mentioned the instructional guides. Last year, we brought in the California Reading and Literature Project to focus specifically on designated and integrated ELT. That instruction that is needed for English learners across the board, STELs, LTELs in particular. How do we give them that language instruction they need in all courses, not just in English, but across the content areas? And we do want to note that last year we had the federal government here called FPM, and we have absolutely 0 findings in our English learner and PE program. So that's kudos to our sites, our district support teams in state and federal, in making sure we're, at the minimum, compliant to federal guidelines. So CTE is a focus in our district. We mentioned college and career ready. 2 things I'll highlight here are the NIMSY grant. You may have heard that in the past. We have money to support getting students in advanced placement courses, in particular students from military families who are from the unduplicated students, English learners, foster and homeless youth. And so we've had that in place now we're in the 2nd year of the NIMSY grant. So that's supporting CTE. And each school is looking at increasing the pathways they offer in CTE at their school. Likewise, for college and career readiness, we are focusing on dual enrollment opportunities through Southwestern College. So at your school, we have different options depending on what part of the district you're in. But that's something that's under development. We're constantly looking for partnership, increasing our partnership with Southwestern College to get more students getting dual enrollment credit. And we have a lot of different efforts in the area of STEAM. We know that the economy is looking for students who are prepared to enter into STEAM type jobs. So we have a robust robotics in middle school and high school. And then we have lots of different STEAM programs. I was just a couple weeks ago at the Solar Sprint at Eastlake Middle, where Montgomery Middle dominated. Where's Montgomery Middle? Did you hear today? Yes, yes, congratulations. You guys have the solar car, like first place, second place, third place, and just dominated the world. So it was very great to see the excitement of students. Yes, we can give Montgomery a hand. So we have a variety of different programs that are related to the STEAM field. I know there's even a drone program we're trying to get off the ground. Literally, no pun intended. So at St. Federal, really one of the focuses we've had for our English learners is Avid Excel, a specific program targeted to support LTELs. I mentioned that group. If I looked at English learners, STEL, LTEL, RFED, the group that needs our greatest attention are LTEL. By definition, they've been in there 6 years, they're not reclassified. They have, and often their problems are not just language, it's mobility. Sometimes those tend to be overrepresented in special education. So the Avid Excel class is one that we've been developing over time, piloted at a couple schools, now have it at every middle school to really support those students. So we're excited about that program and continuing to build it. We have not forgotten about the arts. We continue to increase our enrollment in VAPA, and we believe that whole student approach to learning is critical. So that is definitely a part of our mission moving forward. And last slide, I believe, on this topic is our next steps. I mentioned to you our focus on PD is effective first instruction. And the way we're developing that is through those SLTs, through improving and implementing the instructional guides and supporting teachers and teacher teams to develop quality instruction across our district. And so that's really our focus as we move forward. The last thing I need to spend some time with you on, and I think you have copies in front of you, is to get your input around 3 areas. And those 3 areas we need to get your input on. That's not part of your slide deck. I think copies were made, is that right, Ms. Delgado? Do you have copies for them for these? Yes. Yeah. So you're going to see something that has questions for a rating scale. Maybe I can see a copy of that to show people what we're looking for. Yeah, that's that blue one. So if you don't mind, find this blue sheet here in front of you. I'm going to have you actually do this while I stand in front of you. Not that I don't trust you, but we're going to do it together. So if you look at that rating scale, you're going to answer all the questions with this rating scale right here. If you think we're making no progress, you're going to give us a 1. And this is from your perspective at the school that you are part of. You can give us beginning, some implementation, full implementation, or Super 5, full implementation, and sustainability. It's something that's been going on for years and it's strong. So let's look at the first question, and we're going to go through these one at a time. The first category is actually about how are we doing at building relationships? And so the first question I want you to answer on that 1 to 5 scale is this: rate our progress in developing the capacity of our staff, that's teachers, administrators, classified, to build trusting and respectful relationships with families. So go ahead and give us a rating on that blue sheet, 1 through 5. We'll do 1 question at a time. And let us know how we're doing at your school. Are they building relationships with all staff members? It doesn't, no, I don't need to know the school. You don't need to sign it. You can be anonymous. How's that? Speak the truth. So we'll go on to the second question. Rate our progress in creating a welcoming environment for all families in the community. We definitely talk a lot about that in our district and site teams. We hope you're feeling that it's a welcoming environment. But please let us know 1 through 5 for that welcoming environment. How are we doing in that category? So the next question then, how are we doing when it comes to supporting staff to learn about each family's strengths, cultures, language, and goals? And I think about this one is, do we listen? When you talk, do we listen, or do we just, like me, just talk at you all day? Do we listen to you and find out who you are, about your culture, your language, your goals, etc.? And the last question on building relationships is about communication. Do we have multiple opportunities for the LEA and school site to engage in two-way communications between families and educators using language that is understandable? So here's an example. Today is a good example. We're going to talk at you, but we're getting your questions. We want your feedback. It's two-way communication. There's translation. That's an example of once. But does this happen at your school regularly in different ways, whereby you can hear from the school and the school can hear from you? So is that two-way communication consistent? Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Next category. Specifically building partnerships for student outcomes is the category, and the first question. So how are we doing in providing professional learning and support to teachers and principals to improve a school's capacity to partner with families? So do you see evidence at your school?
Can you tell parents what LEA stands for?
Yes, thank you. LEA is for you, it would be your school. For us, it would be the districts. Actually, basically it's the districts. An LEA is either a district or a school, though. In your case, you're just looking at it from your school perspective. But their local education agency is actually their school. They're answering based on their school. Second, we went back one, I think. There we go. Second one on partnership for student outcomes. How is our progress in providing families information and resources to support student learning and development in the home? So are you getting resources for how to help your kid at home? Whether it's how they complete homework, how they access resources, how they get ready for and apply for college. Or you feel like you're getting support from your school to support your children at home? And question 7, that's a very long-winded question that really has to do with whether the school is providing opportunities for your students' teachers to work with you on kind of goal setting and helping your students reach the goals that they have and improve their outcomes. So is there that partnership, whether it's open house and things that are such as open house where you have that family-teacher communication? And the last question in this category of partnerships for student outcomes. So are you getting support to understand and exercise your legal rights and advocate for your students and all students? So do you understand what it means to advocate for your students? Do you get opportunities to advocate not only for your students, but for other students in your school setting? And last category, we have 4 more questions on seeking your input for actually making decisions. So do you see evidence at your school that the principals and staff are engaging families and advisory groups to make decisions? So your site has a site plan they develop, and ideally that site plan is developed with collaboration from all stakeholders, including parents and students. And so do you see evidence of that in your school? How would you rate us on that category? The second question is similar to that. It's if you want to be a part of the decision-making process, is your school training you on how to do that? Providing support on how you can make your voice heard? Are they just asking you questions and getting your input? Or do they actually show you how to maybe engage with your teacher, engage with your school in a way that you can be a part of the decision-making process? So do you see capacity building and training for parents? The question 11 really gets at whether your school is making an effort to include all families. In Sweetwater, we like to use the word each. We think that's really important. We want to focus on each student in our district, each family. So does your school reach out to everyone in the community? Did they just talk to the people that show up all the time? Or do they go out of their way to find parents and families who may be reluctant to come to school for language or other reasons and reach out to them? So you see evidence of them really reaching out to each member of the school community. That's question 11. And the last question would be whether or not your school is working together with parents to actually evaluate their effectiveness in this parent outreach program. Do they have a design process in place? And does that design process, again, include families? Or are they doing it in isolation without families? So thank you for going through that. I appreciate that. I'm going to collect those before I go today, and then we're going to answer some questions. Okay, here we're going to start these questions here, and I see only 75 questions, so the break has been canceled. And no, not true. So first question, why is the AP pass rate high, but the numbers lower? So I'll start with that one. So it's really hard to say why. One of the things I know that I'm careful not to say is that in every one of these data points, there are multiple reasons why numbers grow, improve, or decrease. So I can't tell you why the numbers got lower this year. Now, my prediction on the pass rate being a little bit higher is that because we've been doing the NIMSY work, which provides students a lot of additional support and training on Saturdays and some teacher training as well. I think that could be a reason why our pass rate got better. But time will tell whether or not that lower rate will be a trend or just a one-year change.
The number of students who took the test is lower, but the pass rate is higher.
Correct, yeah, that's possible. And again, I just don't have enough information to know whether to answer that any differently. So the question was, how will budget cuts affect credit recovery and summer school? So we do still offer credit recovery and summer school. It was indeed slightly less last year than it had been in the previous year, but it is still offered at your school. And a lot of those decisions, sites have control of their budgets to use additional monies than just those that were targeted for credit recovery. So some of your site leaders have that creativity to really focus on what's needed for those two things, and they are critically important. But I will tell you that our focus, as I've said to you several times today, is effective first instruction. And I have a strong personal belief that if we improve our effective first instruction, we don't make credit recovery unnecessary. We're always going to need credit recovery in summer school because not every single kid will pass the class. But we do believe we can get more students to learn at a better rate if we improve our effective first instruction. So that is indeed our focus. Strategies in place to improve LTEL scores. I mentioned to you one, which is Avid Excel. In essence, I'm going to go back to like a broken record. Effective first instruction can improve scores for every student, including LTELs. And we need to keep working on those teams approach, the PLC approach to designing instruction that's common, to looking at our data. Looking at data at the end of the year is nice and important, but what's more important is what are our teachers doing today, Wednesday? Are they looking at the data of their student progress right now? That's helping teachers get better at that is how we improve our performance for LTELs and any other student group. That was one card. Okay, here we go. Difference between Avid and Avid Excel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Delgado, but I believe Avid Excel is specifically targeted for LTELs, and that's the only difference. Avid is a program that's been around for years. Advancement via individual determination. It's open up to any students. Great program that really prepares students for the habits they need to be successful in school, high school, and college. And so we've taken that and designed one specifically for LTEL students to get that same benefit by targeting those student needs. How is the budget cut affecting our students? I don't want to say that it's not affecting them at all, but I believe it's affecting them very little. I know this, that whether it's the budget cuts now or previous drama that this district and other districts face, we have a bunch of fantastic professionals. Teachers, administrators, classified, who despite what's going on around them, they do their work. They do it with professionalism, with dedication, and I don't see evidence. You saw scores that were flat, some were improving, some were going up. So I see that's evidence to me that people are sticking their nose to the grindstone and doing their work. We all have to deal with externalities that are complicated and difficult, but for the most part, that's not going to keep us from doing our job. Absolutely not. Is there any way VAPA classes taken in middle school to get A through G certification credit? So to my knowledge, that's not the case now. The only two courses in middle school that get credit are the Algebra 1, Intermediate 1, and the World Language. I don't know of any VAPA that could get A through G credit unless someone could correct me. But I don't know if that's possible in the future or at all, but I've never heard that. Okay, will you explain how the data question is good. How the graph and numbers such as -15 plus 6 relate to how far or close to met or distance. Okay, so I don't know if there's a good way to, I'll give you an example as concrete as I can. In language arts 7th grade, I'm gonna make up a number, this is not the exact number, but let's say you need to get a score of 2,500 to be proficient. Language arts 7th grade, it's somewhere around there, but that may not be exact, so don't quote me. If I get 2,550, my score is plus 50. If I get 2,450, my score is minus 50. But now if I go to language arts 8th grade, that number for proficient may be 2,600. So my score of 2,550 is now minus 50. I need to score over 2,600 in 8th grade, so 2,650, now I get plus 50. So again, that plus or minus is always based on that grade levels and that courses, language arts or math, what is their score of proficient. So when you see the plus, you know they're scoring above proficient. When you see the minus, they're scoring below proficient. So next time I come back, you'll ask that question again, and by the 5th time, we'll all totally understand it. It is different, and the state changes it slightly every year. The first year it was distance from standard, now it's distance from MET. Next year, I don't know. Hay una oportunidad que se provee a los estudiantes de middle y high school, un programa de lectura en línea donde tenga el apoyo de leer más y saber se avance. Traducción, por favor. I don't understand what that means. A program of lectura en línea? What is that?
Online.
Oh, online. There you go. So we do have a school called Options Secondary, which supports students in 7 through 12, correct? And they are developing some online courses. And so they've got a couple courses already kind of rolled out they use for their students. And we're piloting how we might use those, not just at Options for that student group, but our goal is to make those available in time for all students in the district. So that's something it's in the works. We hope to see that develop over time. We also have courses called APEX that are available, and I think those are used only in high school. So APEX are online courses that we purchased for credit recovery. So again, those are 2 projects in place. We do agree that there's an opportunity for us there to think more about online learning. So she wanted to clarify me if she was paying attention to what I was reading. Actually, it was an online reading program. So I was thinking more about courses. And so we don't have a program that's specifically geared to online reading. We do have something called the Achieve 3000. And many of your schools probably use in middle schools in particular. That does improve reading. It's sort of online reading and improve their reading comprehension. That's all I would say about online reading. How are we doing on time? Oh, good. Okay, we're going to make it. Here we go. What plans do we have in place to support the trades and the students who want to pursue a classical trade? These jobs are plentiful, but no one is talking about job readiness for this great expansion field. That is an excellent question, and I won't say that we have no plans for that. I mentioned CTE, right? Career Technical Education, and we have different pathways at every school. And some of those include classical trades. In fact, I ran into a kid who we were working with at Palomar High School. And he originally was a student at Sweetwater High, and he had gone to the welding program at Sweetwater High. And he could not wait to finish Palomar High School because he wanted to be a welder. And he had already done an internship because of the Sweetwater program. And he had people he knew in the industry, and he was going to enter the welding program. So that's an anecdotal evidence of students who are getting into the trades. But I do agree with the sentiment of this. We need to do more of that. There are plenty, in fact, I read somewhere, I think it was the state of Virginia, that many of the trades are finding that they don't have enough students coming out of high school who are ready to enter the trades. They're just not applying for jobs. And these are not minimum wage jobs. These are really decently paying jobs. And so we absolutely need to continue to work in our CTE program. I mentioned to you we're trying to increase CTE pathways at every school. I know Sandy Cedar has been talking about and maybe developing a construction program at their school, and there's many others. So we absolutely agree with that sentiment. So I'm sitting at a table, like a story, with a parent of a special needs student that needs full support all day long, but does not get it. What is the classification system that determines level of care? That's a great question, and it's actually an easy question to answer. In special ed, you have an IEP, individualized education plan, and it is developed by the team that is responsible for the IEP at your school, which includes teachers, administrators, often a school psychologist, parents. That team determines what support you should get. And if anybody is in that situation that was described here, you should go to your case manager at your school, and you should sit down to them to find out why is our IEP not being implemented, if indeed that is the case. That's sad to hear, if that is the case, but absolutely that should be implemented. That is the law, and that is our intention to implement whatever is in that IEP. And if it's not happening, we want to know about it so we can resolve that problem right away. Last card, it only has 5 questions. Okay, that's good. That's sneaky. I thought they were told not to do that. How are teachers engaging students who are bored in class and as a result failing? Now that's a great question. I've looked at data for many, many years, and if you look at data in the Gallup poll, they've studied kids across our country and basically asked them a question like, are you happy at school? Kindergartners, like 120%, right? They wake up, they love school, most of them. There's a few that don't, but it's like 80 to 90%. And then you watch that data as they go through school, and it does this everywhere, not just in Chula Vista. As kids get older, they get less interested in school. And that concerns me a lot. That concerns all of us who are in education. Guess what my answer is to that? Number 1, quality first instruction. I've seen, when I go into classrooms where that teacher has a well-designed lesson plan with the content in mind and the student in mind, there's engagement, there's excitement. There are students talking to each other. There's wrestling with ideas. There's productive struggle. And you go in classrooms where that teacher and team has not designed a well-developed lesson, there are students who are bored out of their mind. And so absolutely that is a problem. And we believe that if we create strong teacher teams who work together to design effective instruction and monitor that instruction day to day, we will see less of those bored students. So you can just stop me when we're done? We have 2 more. Oh, okay.
No, you should do the new ones because that was one for one record.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, we'll try and get to that one. How can the district know if these meeting between site curriculum teams are really effective? So that's a really important question. Whenever we implement a plan, we design the plan, we first start with what are the outcomes we want to have in place. Let's say it's improved math performance at the end of the year. And then we come up with our plan. How we know it's effective is if we are monitoring that frequently. We don't want to wait till May. Did it work in May? It's too late. We need to know right now. So I supervise schools, and when I go out to schools, we do 2 things. We go out into classrooms to see what instruction looks like, and then I ask them for data. So it's October, give me the data in your math classes to show me what's evidence of students making progress. And that's happening. When that's happening at every school and every PLC and every classroom, we know if it's making an impact. So you have to monitor it throughout the school year. Okay, in Spanish, si aquí pueden ayudar para restaurar las canchas de soccer in Sweetwater, I'm in favor of soccer, so you know. Pues es muy difícil para algunos papás. So this was specifically for the field at Sweetwater High School. So their football field, soccer field had to be renovated, and they want to know how that's going to be resolved. And to my knowledge, that actually is in the works. I'm not sure the timing of that, but the funds have already been secured to renew that field. The Sweetwater High football field, soccer field. Right, so I don't know the timeline. Do we have a timeline for that yet? Yeah. Well, the more important field, soccer starts soon, so that's all that matters. So. 6 to 8 weeks, right? So that's the time frame for that field renovation. So I know we did secure the funds for that, and parents will not be charged for that. That will be paid for by the district. Got it. So the field itself was covered under the warranty for that field, and our district is paying for the labor. How are we doing with time? Okay, we almost got to the last one. But thank you very much for your time and your great questions. And if you don't mind, the blue papers were already collected. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, make sure those blue forms were filled out. It is part of his homework. Also, please, before we go to break, you can grab this yellow. If you have anything for open forum you need to present, please fill this out and have it. You can pick one, if it's not on your table, you can pick one up back here. Please get it to our board before the end of the break. Okay? And we are going on break. And we will begin at 10:30. We're going to begin in 1 minute. Okay, everyone, please take a seat. Everyone, please return to their seats. We're going to continue with our meeting. Okay, our next speaker comes from the Compliance Office. The Compliance Office serves as the primary point of contact for compliance-related issues and investigations. Please, everyone, welcome Dr. Vernon Moore, Chief Compliance Officer for Sweetwater Union District High.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak. One thing about the work that I do is that I enjoy and look forward to opportunities to talk to parents and families and folks in our district about what goes on in the compliance office. What I find is most people do not like to complain about things. It's true. I mean, some people, we know people who we have friends and family members who do like to complain. But what I find when we're talking about the school district and we're talking about our schools and our students is that parents are very, in some cases, parents and teachers and others are very reluctant because they don't want to be seen as somebody who's causing a problem or having an issue or a concern. And so I hope after today's presentation, the one thing you leave and walk away with is, we are here to listen to you and your concerns. We are here to respond and assist you in trying to come up with a resolution to your concerns, to your complaints. And so that's what the compliance office is all about. And that's what I do. And I speak with parents all the time. And so I hope that at the end of this, you feel welcome to call me and we can have a discussion and talk about any concerns that you might have. Today, I am going to speak about uniform complaints, which is a very, very specific kind of complaint. And it's a complaint that we're mandated to let all parents know about and talk about by the state of California. And it doesn't cover all kinds of complaints, but it's a specific kind, and I want to make sure that that information is shared. And if you have any questions, I can answer those. So I have, in this case, I have slides in Spanish as well as slides in English, so that's great. So this is the very, very simple rule at the compliance office. Is if you have a concern and you let us know about it, we log it in, and then we investigate. That's that guy looking around. The investigation can take many forms. Sometimes we review documents. Oftentimes we'll conduct interviews and speak with people. Sometimes we review student records or things like that. But you call our office with a concern, we investigate. That's what we do. That's what the compliance office does. And as I mentioned, there's like a dozen types of complaints. There's complaints from employees if they don't feel like, as an employee, things are going well for them. There's complaints from students if students have concerns and complaints. There's complaints from parents, community members. And so all of those complaints have different categories. And so today, I'm going to speak primarily, though, about uniform complaints, and I'll speak a little bit about Williams complaints because they're related. And I just want to make sure we know the distinction and know what the response is. I won't really be talking about general complaints, like, for example, if there's a complaint or concern about, I heard in the previous presentation about the soccer field, or a complaint or concern about the way a building is painted. We handle those and we take whatever comes into the door, but I won't be speaking about that specifically today. You can ask a question about it, but I don't have slides on that. And I won't be talking about employment complaints either. Those are complaints where our employees, we have special process and procedure for them to file complaints as well. Let's talk about uniform complaints. So a uniform complaint is, again, a very, very specific kind of complaint, and it primarily involves students. So if students are being discriminated against, treated poorly, intimidated, in some cases bullied, if there's retaliation, then that's a uniform complaint. There's also complaints regarding specific programs, like our foster youth program or our homeless youth program. Complaints about adult education, if you have a concern about student fees. Those are the categories that fall under uniform complaints. And I say that because sometimes folks say, hey, I'm filing a uniform complaint, but it might be a general concern or complaint about a teacher, or you went to the office and didn't get the response that you expected from somebody that works in an office or something. So sometimes those are general concerns or complaints and not uniform complaints. The way that the state has structured uniform complaints is it's really one of the primary things we look at is it involving students and is it involving discrimination based on race, class, gender, ethnicity, immigration status. There's a whole bunch of protected classes that a uniform complaint would be based on. And so if it falls into that category, and you call our office or you fill out a form and turn it in, then we will respond and say, hey, we are opening up a uniform complaint and we're going to follow the uniform complaint procedure. If it doesn't fall in that category, then I typically would say to you, the complaint you're filing doesn't meet the specifications of a uniform complaint, but here's the process that we're going to do. So I just wanted to make sure I'm pointing that out, that uniform complaint, because of the way it is broken down by the state, is a very, very specific kind of complaint that has categories to it. Williams Act and Williams complaints are about sufficiency of materials and instructional supplies. And those complaints can also come to the compliance office. And we will take your complaint and respond. The primary agency that investigates Williams complaints, though, is state and federal. So Ms. Delgado and her team are the team that investigate Williams complaints. So if you have a complaint about your instructional materials at your schools, or maybe you don't have enough instructional supplies, again, you can call us at the compliance office. You can call me. I will respond to you. I will take your complaint. But I will also tell you that it gets forwarded to state and federal office, and that they're the ones who investigate Williams complaints. Teacher vacancies, teacher misassignments, those kind of things really do get forwarded to the state and federal office. Okay? I understand if you have questions, you're writing them on the cards, and I'll take the cards. That's what we're doing that for this one too. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Red card. Okay. So one of the things about uniform complaints, so you have a concern, it's about discrimination, you feel like your child is, or you have been discriminated against by a teacher, a principal, somebody at the school, a coach. You come to the compliance office or you call us, you say, hey, I feel like I've been discriminated against. We take it as a uniform complaint. So then the clock starts ticking. And the state says that we have to respond in writing to you within 30 to 60 days. So 60 days being the long end, but somewhere between 30 to 60 days you should get something in writing from the compliance office regarding your complaint. And what was investigated, who was talked to, what records were reviewed, and what the decision is about your concern. What won't be included in a written response is if there's going to be personnel action taken. Like, let's say you have a complaint about an employee and you want the employee fired. Well, our office will investigate and turn it over to Human Resources, but we would never include what Human Resources is going to do. That's just not, that's something that's private. I mean, there could be actions taken. I always caution folks when they come in and share concerns with me that their actions could be taken. It's just we can't necessarily share those actions because they're protected personnel records, if you will, about employees. And so sometimes folks come in and they read the report and they go, well, what did you guys do to the employee? And I would say, well, I can't share that right now, but please know it has been turned over to Human Resources and action has been taken. If there's any disputes or you don't feel like the response was adequate, again, the procedure as it relates to uniform complaints and Williams Act complaints is that you have an appeal to the California Department of Education. So this is very unique with uniform complaints and Williams Act complaints. So if it's a complaint about discrimination of your child or a complaint about pupil fees, and you don't feel like the compliance office or the district has responded appropriately, you appeal to the state of California. And the state of California then reviews the report and the complaint, and then they issue, again, another written response to you that could be, hey, we agree with you, and the response of the district wasn't adequate, and these are the changes the district's going to have to do. Or they may say, you know, we reviewed the case and the district was right in the way they responded. But the point is that we are monitored not just from within this district or the Board of Education, but from the state of California. And that's very important to know. So if you have concerns that you feel aren't being addressed, please know that the state of California monitors all those complaints. And if there's a problem, you can file a report or an appeal with them, and I have all the information about how to do that. And I mean, and trust me, those of you that have worked with me, and I've worked with some folks, know that I'm very forthcoming about that. If you want to file an appeal with the state of California, I make sure I give you all the information and contact information so that you can do that. Okay? Because the whole point is to try to resolve the concern. And if we haven't done it or we haven't done an adequate job of it, then we want to make sure that you know all the avenues that you have. So, who can you file your complaint with? At the school sites, they all have the complaint forms. I'm going to show you where you can find them online, and I'll talk about where my office is. But basically, anyone at your school site, at the district office, a lot of folks go to student services because student services is located on 5th Avenue, right next to the district office where the board meets. My office is actually just 3 doors down from here. So the compliance office is here on L Street, down in the next building, right next to Dr. Winters, who presented just before me. So you can file them at the school. The school should be forwarding them to me. You can file them at the district office, or you can come to my office. But please know, I mean, all of us are aware of what a uniform complaint is and who you can file those with. You can also email, and that's actually probably the best way, to be honest, is to email your concern. Because when you email it, you have the date when you sent it, and it's automatically recorded by date. So that's why I put email on the top, is because email is an excellent, excellent way to document the fact that you have submitted a complaint, because it has the date and time. There's also forms that you can write on, online and at the school sites. You can write a statement not on the form too, or type up a statement if you would like. It doesn't have to be on the proper form. I'm way less concerned with the form than the fact that if you have a concern that you feel like isn't being addressed, that it gets written and sent to me. Or you can, and the procedure and the guidelines from the state are, if you speak to us, like maybe you're not comfortable writing, or maybe there's a language barrier, whatever the concern is, if you speak to us, we can assist you in writing the complaint and getting it on paper. So if there's a concern, just contact me, call my office, and we can sit down and work and write the complaint down for you. Okay? But ultimately, you want to make sure it is written and it gets to us. So I would say email's the best way, but there's certainly other ways to do it. What happens when you file the complaint? Well, first, we determine what kind of complaint it is, right? Is it a uniform complaint? Are you an employee and you're filing an employee complaint? Is it a student, a parent? So that's the very first thing we'll do, is try to determine what kind of complaint it is, and we'll hopefully come to some agreement on that. Then there's a timeline, as I mentioned, 30 to 60 days is when you should have a written response back. We looked into your concern, and this is what we found. Oftentimes, we refer to the immediate administrator, meaning you have a concern at the school site. We'll go talk to the principal or the assistant principal at the school site. If you have a concern about that principal or assistant principal, which happens, then we'll talk to the assistant superintendent or whoever's supervising that principal. If you have a concern about an assistant superintendent, then we talk to the superintendent. And if you have a concern about the superintendent, then it goes to the board. And if you have a concern about the board, then we'll figure it out. But the board is the governing body of the district, and so they're the elected officials. So typically, when there's big concerns about board members, they have to run for election, and that's when those issues start to come up. But in all cases, again, the state of California is still a place that you can file your concern if you do not feel like it's being addressed by the district. And again, that's so important to know and to remember. It gets investigated, and then it's a report back to you. Now this is a big one, and when I've done this presentation before, folks, this is the part that folks get very concerned about. And it's this idea about retaliation. And so, all of our policies, all of our procedures indicate that because you filed a complaint, you cannot be retaliated against. Meaning, there cannot be a negative action taken against you for filing a complaint or concern. And why that's important is because if there is retaliation, you need to report it. If you feel like, let me give you an example. You file a complaint about a coach, the baseball coach. And the baseball coach has discriminated against your son or your daughter for some reason. And once you file the complaint, next thing you know, your son or daughter is kicked off the team. That's retaliation. But if you don't wait until the end of the season to tell us, then we can't take action. You gotta report the retaliation when it happens, as soon as it happens, as soon as you can. And even if you think it's retaliation, like you're not sure, but what's going on, give us a call. Because we need to investigate that and take action. We take retaliation very seriously. Very seriously. There can be no retaliation. Also, again, you get a written response from the district, 30 to 60 days. And if there's an issue or problem, the appeal is with the California Department of Education. The whole state, not just with the district. Okay? Again, I hope what's overwhelmingly important and conveyed here is that if you have a complaint, that you understand that it will be investigated. We'll look into it. Here's my contact information. Our phone number is 619-796-7720. We are in our office. We speak Spanish and English. Oh, thank you. But if we have any other languages, we can make sure that those languages, we can address that in there. So if there's language is not a problem in calling my office our concern, we'll make sure that that's taken care of. And then the compliance office website is up there, and I'm really hoping, is there any way I can do the website real quick? I think I can. Just 1 second. I do just want to point out on our district website, it's one click away. If you go to student and parents, and you look down that list, you'll see near the bottom of the list, it says uniform complaint. And you click there, there's 2 clicks because they changed the page, but that's okay. It'll tell you, click there. And then all of the information, including the forms and everything in English and Spanish, is listed there on the website. So it's very close. There's students and parents, that pull down tab to get to the uniform complaint page. I wanted to point out one more thing. The district also has a fraud hotline that I work with the audit department with. And it's on the webpage. You just scroll down until you see fraud hotline. And this is if you believe, and fraud is if you believe there's something going funny with the money or a program, or it's something's not working right. You can click on this. And the neat thing about this is you can file an anonymous concern. It takes you to this web page, and then it says click here to start online reporting. And it takes you to another web page. We have a third party, not the district office. It's called Integrity Counts. And you can file an anonymous report. You can call somebody. Again, it's not the district office, it's a third party, and file an anonymous report, and then it can get to us. So if you are concerned about revealing your identity, particularly about fraud, but if you have other concerns, you can file, you can call, you can change the language, you'll see. You don't need to log in either. Español, for example. And so you can do this online fraud hotline is what you would look for to get to this page. And then, like I said, there's a phone number that you can call. If you want to call, you can submit a report online, and you do not have to submit your name or your. There's a way that the system can contact you without you having to reveal your name to us. Okay. There. Got some questions. Is there an online form for general complaints? This is what we have now, but again, it's focused on fraud, but it comes to me. The reports come to me, so you can file whatever you want there. I'll see it. Why Olympian High School doesn't have a scoreboard on the baseball field and they don't have a proper dugout? So we were just at Olympian and we examined the baseball field and the softball field, and we're looking to identify some funds. We were just there last week, so Olympian is high on our list to address these concerns. I do work with the athletics department as well in addressing concerns around gender equity and making sure our sports are up to par. So I'm going to tell you, we were just at Olympian High last week. So hopefully that gets addressed. What does the district do when a teacher is missing a lot, and as a result, the students are going to have a hard time in their grades and getting their knowledge? It's a great question. What do we do if the teacher is out a lot? And because I have been a high school principal, and as well as a teacher, and being at school is like number one. It's like you got to be there to teach. So very often, if there's a medical or some other kind of issue, then we try to get another teacher there so that we can work and do that if they're going to be out for a long-term time. But if it's the teacher's missing 1 or 2 days a week and it's kind of spotty, then oftentimes the principal will sit down, or the assistant principal will sit down with that teacher and figure out, is there something going on? Bottom line though is that if it's affecting the learning, you just want to make sure that principal knows. And if your student is coming home once or twice a week saying, oh, my teacher was out again, my teacher was out again, I mean, generally they see the absence list, so they know. But sometimes, again, if it's medical, then we are trying to address it within the ways we can. If it's not, and teachers just missing school, then generally that's going to be an issue that the principal or assistant principal needs to address in a disciplinary way. Again, it's so important. Attendance is so important, not just for your students, but for our teachers as well. So. What are school sites required to do to bring awareness to remind students about zero tolerance of bullying? It's a great question, and we just revised. I worked with student services, and we just revised a bullying presentation that will be presented to all students across the district. We've done it at 4 schools now. The parents of Montgomery, Sweetwater High, and Castle Park Middle, and San Ysidro High School. Your students have seen this bullying PowerPoint presentation that includes contact information and who they can go to if they're experiencing that. And we just, we piloted it at those 4 schools to see if we need to make changes, and then we'll bring it around to the district. But it is a requirement by the state that we do that. So if your child hasn't seen that yet, please talk to your administrators or your counselors at your school, because that presentation's out and student services is making sure that schools get that. Oh, that was the baseball field one. Many people do not know that they can follow a report. How can you make it that, I think it's how to file a report? I guess it says many people do not know they can file a report. How can you make it available to people? And so again, there's the website. And again, a lot of people, 5 minutes. A lot of people I work with, again, they're reluctant. I don't, please don't be reluctant. Please give us a call. I think anyone who's worked with me will tell you I'm responsive. I call back, I sit down, we listen, and we try to resolve. Does it always work out, and is it always perfect? Of course not. But the main thing is, please know you can file a concern or complaint. You can call our office and let us know what's going on. If you don't tell us, sometimes we don't know. I don't get a chance to get out to all the sites. Sometimes things happen and we just don't know. So if they're not reported, it becomes difficult. Great question. What are you doing about the track and field at Bonita? There's a lot of holes. Bonita Vista High School, there's a lot of holes that can be dangerous. So as you know, like many of Bonita's sports are played at the adjacent Southwestern College. It's because, I wish I was making this up, I'm not. We're out at Bonita this morning. We were there this morning reviewing just what this question says, the track and the field there. We are identifying some funds to start that refurbishment. It's going to take some time, but we are out there. We were there today to review that. Dr. Janney and Dr. Winters just spoke about Sweetwater High and the field there. We know that there's some places that need some immediate attention. What we're doing right now is going out, assessing them, and then prioritizing it. Bonita is very high on that list. We were just there today. Ivan?
Cuando la clase tiene un suplente y solo toma asistencia a veces y deja que los estudiantes hagan lo que quieran,
Okay, so it sounds like it's a concern about when there's a substitute in the class and the substitute only takes attendance and then doesn't do any teaching of the class or anything like that. You gotta let your assistant principal or your principal know. If your students are coming in saying that, if they're coming home saying, oh, we had a sub and he just let us a quick email. Again, email is so great because it's a time and date on there. A quick email about that so that because maybe that day the assistant principal didn't get a chance to walk in and check on that sub and see how things are going. When a teacher is out, they're required to leave a lesson plan. If that lesson plan is not being followed because the substitute didn't follow the lesson plan, then we need to know that so we can address it with that substitute. So again, that's a concern that you want to take and make sure your assistant principal, your principal knows this. This is so important, this notion of communication.
¿podemos poner detectores de humo o vapor de cigarro en los baños de la escuela?
It's great. Okay, so I think, is this my last one? Or, okay, because I know there might be more that I didn't get to, and I apologize. I wanted to make sure we covered all that we covered. This one is about putting smoke detectors or vapor detectors in the bathroom. So there are smoke detectors. We're required to have smoke detectors in all of our schools and all of our buildings so that if it detects smoke, and a fire alarm will go off. Sometimes students smoking in the bathroom can't set off that alarm and the building has to be evacuated. Vapor is new. Vapor is something that we are now, it's a brand new challenge that we're facing. I work with student services and other agencies to try to address this. Not exactly sure just yet how we can best address vapor, but I think one of the main things regarding vapor and the vape pens is you want to, there are kids and adults dying from vapor. And so if that's something you're seeing, you've got to let your counselor, let your assistant principal or principal know that, hey, I'm seeing these kids with vapor. We are trying to address it as best we can, and there's kids dying, literally, from these vapor pens. So I would say, if you're seeing it or noticing it, please address it with your students and with the schools. But know that we on this side are thinking of every way we can to address that serious issue in our schools. And I work with student services on this all the time because I get concerns about it. So I apologize again that I didn't get to everyone's questions, but my contact information was up there. It's you can call my office. I'm just down the way. You have the PowerPoint with all my contact information there. I look forward. I truly look forward to engaging with you. I can come back if invited. I'll come back and talk and take some more questions. But please know, it's really about your voice and you making sure. And don't worry about, oh, I don't want to be the one complaining or I don't want to be the one that causes a problem. If there's a problem, let us know. That's what we're here for. That's the work that I do. So thank you again for the time, and I guess I'm done. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. So the questions that weren't answered will be translated, emailed to email to him and hopefully responded. So. Okay, we're going to move on to our next agenda, number 7, starting old and new business, and we have one topic that's regarding our topic survey results. So in September, does everybody remember filling out that form, ranking 1 through I think 14 or something like that, where what was our concerns as a group? So we separated them into obviously between DELAC and DPAC, and here are the results. No pressure to fill it. Everyone see that? People in the back, can you see that? Online, is it visible? Perfect. So as you can see, now the way they were ranked, it was 13 topics. So DPAC, this is our 1 through 13. So as a DPAC group, we ranked safety first, facilities last. In DELAC, they didn't put them in their order, but they ranked adolescent development and social emotional learning first, and technology used in at Sweetwater Union High School District by students last. So as you can tell, we're still kind of reviewing the information. We're going to use this as a foundation for our speakers. So our average, you can see, obviously safety 1 and 3. How effective to advocate for students, number 2, that's probably one of the main ones. And so on. So as we're different groups, we have different priorities. As you can see, special education's pretty much equal. And we just gotta figure out a way and get speakers who can cover these topics for us so we can have future presenters on the joint meetings. A lot of them we will have individual for that specific group, as in our facilities is not a priority, or other ones aren't a priority, but they might be a priority to the DELAC group and vice versa. So just take a look at that and just see where we're at. One thing I do find that was kind of low was the career technical education and college options pathway, 610 and 11.9, which I find interesting just because with the STEM programs, our college programs, and trying to get everyone into college, as Ms. Delgado once said, the more A's your kids have, that's the less money you have to pay for college. So getting them with scholarships, grants, all the different options. So we've been discussing, especially with robotics, drones. I think we heard there's a new drone program that we're hopefully getting associated with. And this is the future. A lot of us and our past. Believe it or not, they were talking about earlier regarding trade. Now, does anybody know what I'm talking about when we say trade? Like people in a trade. Anybody? What the trade field is called like
Welders,
there you go.
carpenters, electricians, plumbers.
Yes.
Those are trades.
So her just saying, like plumbers, welders, masonry, landscapers, design, those people who design cabinet makers. I can tell you from experience, even though I came from, I was a criminal investigator, my business now is based on trade. And I can tell you now, there is a very small percentage of those people trained in those fields. And they make, or sometimes more than, I would say, people are, he's in the same trade, so he argues with me. But, so there's a combination from, not everyone's going to be an engineer, and not everyone's going to be, a masonry. So that's something we're going to look into more and present so we can get just a different mix of presenters in those topics. But if you have any questions, after the meeting, come and tell us regarding the survey so we can, or email Ms. Delgado or Anna regarding maybe topics that are not on here that might also interest the board. So. Question? Any questions regarding the survey or the results of the survey? Going once? No? Hang on a second. Okay, so we'll do a quick raise of hand. We have a speaker who would be available on one of our joint meetings. He's head of the robotics for the VEX program for Sweetwater Union High, and Sweetwater Union District, I'm sorry. And what he does is he coordinates all the robotics groups and they have major competitions, and it's pretty much a year-long thing. So if this is something you're interested in, raise your hand so we can get the speaker regarding in that. So if you're interested, yeah. So with robotics, a lot of people question where does that lead to? Just from last week meeting with Joe Aperio, he runs the whole VEX program. I think he was saying out of 95% of his students that went through the robotics program, all of them went to college, have some type of engineering degree or are working on their engineering degree. Some have graduated, have came back and are now mentors in part of that degree. Reason I'm saying this is because even like next week, there's a huge work from East Lake, we're having a girls conference regarding women in engineering, where it falls in robotics and everything else. So if it's something you guys are interested in, we can bring this presenter. And also with the yeah, we can put that. So on your yellow form, please put down on the evaluation form, please put down if that's a topic that you want to be interested in.
Amy Wong, East Lake Middle. With that, the speaker, is it possible to also get like a student alumni who kind of talk about, I know it's going to be hard to, not that easy to get on, but, just so that they can talk about how robotics program kind of helped them. And they might not be going into robotics, but just like the experience of it, it would be really nice.
Yeah,
I don't know, college.
Yeah, no, I'll ask him regarding where his, I guess like the, no, I know what you mean, yeah.
I think it's not only robotics, it's about the drone or the little cars for the middle schools, the solar cars, but probably could be the STEM department of the STEM for all that kind of activities they have to the district. Probably robotics is one of the biggest right now, is getting to all the schools because it's middle schools and high schools, but probably Mr. Amaro and other people from their department could be here talking about all the STEM activities they have there at the district.
Yeah, we're trying to recruit a lot of people in this program to bring so we can show that the other options for for students and mentors and teachers. I mean, there's a lot of teachers that are involved in the robotics. So that's what we want him to present and to tell you the problems they have, the problems they don't have, but also the success rate that they're having with students who are involved in those type of STEM programs. It's not just robotics, it's, like she was stating, there's the solar panel cars, the underwater rovers, the drones. I mean, Yeah, the construction engineering, there's a lot of the IT programs. Yeah, so to make this, to make this long story short, write it down if there's something you would like to see on the evaluation forms. And also regarding the evaluation forms, yeah, so that was old business. Now we're moving on to our next topic, which is public communication. Announcements. All right. So, Amy Wong.
Hi, Amy Wong with East Lake Middle. Actually, I'm at my announcements regarding East Lake High School. So East Lake High School's robotics team, Button Bob, is organizing a conference for girls conference this Saturday. This is a STEAM-related conference open to all girls in the districts from 7th to 12th grade. They're going to have speakers from various STEAM fields, including pharmacists, robotics surgery, doctors, cybersecurity engineers, software engineers. We'll have science teachers, principals, like just community leaders from all over. And this is going to start, it starts at 9 o'clock, but registration starts at 8:30. It is at East Lake High School in their theater. And there will be lunch also, free lunch. The conference is free to all students. There will be lunch also offered for free. And during so the first part of the meeting will be just at the theater. They'll have speakers, and then there will be some team bonding, some kind of STEM-related activities. And then there'll be a power lunch offer, where the students will be sitting at each table with two professionals, professional leads. So they will have some kind of professionals in a STEAM field that they would choose to sit with, and they get to have a one-on-one, kind of like a small group talk with them. So this is all free for students, not necessarily only to girls, boys and girls. So if anybody's interested, I've left some of the flyers on some of the tables. Unfortunately, I don't have enough for everybody. And then you can do the QR code and then register. Thank you.
Okay, Cesar Fernandez. Over there.
Can you give me 2 seconds to jump on this computer and put up a graphic for you real quick? Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cesar Fernandez, teacher of 21 years, and I am the Vice President for Sweetwater Education Association. So we represent the roughly 1,800 teachers in the district, and I'm here to be real brief with you. We know that you and your students are the most powerful force in the district, okay? And we would like to meet with parents, parent groups, community groups, and we would like to help support you, inform you, help you use your power and navigate it to the proper channels of the district to create some change. So it's a new territory for SEA. We have created a community engagement committee. It's barely starting. We have our second meeting tomorrow, and we will set some dates where we will invite you. If you would like to meet with us as an official body, I would prefer you go through your elected officers, but these meetings will be open to any and all parents or community groups that have a concern in the district, okay? So we'll put that information on our website, we'll put that information on our social media, and again, we'll reach out to your elected officers to let you know when those meetings are, okay? Thank you so much for your time.
Minerva Weinberg.
Hi, my name is Minerva Weinberger. I work in Montgomery Middle. I'm the CIF. Just to let you know, this coming November 5th, we're going to have a workshop with media manager, the psychologist, and it's going to be from 8:30 in the morning to 10:30 in the morning. And so you guys are invited to go. It's really good. They talk about parents and kids, how to deal with those kind of changes of hormones. And I know you're gonna like it. You guys are welcome to come to our school. Thank you.
What was the name of the school? Montgomery Middle. Sure. And Alma?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alma Gómez, Sudwater. En nuestra escuela estamos impartiendo los talleres de Déjame ayudarte a sanar. Son en español, pero tienen traducción. Es todos los lunes de 6 a 8 de la tarde en el Teatro de Sujai. Si gustan registrarse, pueden hablar con Alma Martínez y si quieren más información, tenemos flyers en la mesa. Alma Martínez se encuentra de este lado, si gustan hablar con ella.
Okay, now we're moving on to, we're almost done, guys, hang on. Moving on to our meeting evaluation. So, please get your yellow paper, fill these out. The more honest, the better for us. I mean, I know this is our first meeting. So we're, still hammering out a little details. And then the second one, Ms. Delgado is going to explain this form real quick. It's regarding Title I and also needs to be filled out.
Thank you so much, Carlos. So on this one, after you heard today about more clarity on El Capital 1, about student achievement and how the district has been doing in their efforts to improve our academic standards of our students, we want your feedback on what you think we can do better. So on the first question, if you take out your green sheet, okay, the first question is, what does it look like when a student shows mastery in school? So in your perspective, in your best answer, what does it look like for a student to be achieving in school? So for example, I give it a little definition. A student shows mastery in school when they are performing at grade level or above on various tests like SBAC, the CELT, and of course exams. They earn grades higher than a C in all their core classes and challenge themselves by taking AP or honor classes to prepare for college. So how are Sweetwater schools educating students who demonstrate mastery in our schools? What does your school do to help students reach mastery? So if you can take just a few minutes to tell us, what does it look like in your school? 2 minutes. 1 minute? 1 minute? 1 minute? It should be in English and Spanish, right? I hope. Yes. If you want more time to write your answers, feel free to stay after the meeting and we will be here. Or if you want to take them with you, we do need them back. And I know how it is. If you take them with you, they might not come back. So we have goodies here and coffee and we can wait for you. Second question, what does it look like when a student is engaged in school? Dr. Winters went through what does engagement look like? I think somebody asked that. So what does your school do to engage students? That's your second question. And then your last question, very important. How does your school provide equitable opportunities for students? Please provide some examples, like if all students have access to AP classes, that's equitable. Everyone has access, and our AP numbers have been going up for students taking AP, or at least the ones that are getting better scores. So I'm going to give you 1 more minute to provide us some responses. You can do bullets. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. And trust me, we don't count spelling. We'll be okay if there's misspelling. Thank you so much for doing this for us. This really helps us when we're writing our LCAP for the district. Thank you.
Okay, so please fill out those green forms. Don't forget to fill out your evaluation forms. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.